This podcast is sponsored by nobody. Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today I will be welcoming back the gorgeous, the sexy, the talented Monique Parent. Monique and I, the last time we did a podcast was on Halloween 2018. It's been 7 years now, and I'm going to have her back on today. We are going to nerd out on the entertainment of our youth, talking about film, television, and music from childhood. And I can't wait. I just adore Monique. She's very honest and direct, and she's very funny and just an overall great lady. Monique has a YouTube channel called Monique Parent where she makes videos focused on age, health, and beauty. It's highly recommended. She puts out videos almost weekly, and she does beauty wellness demonstrations and so forth, and it's a great refreshing change of pace for anybody out there who wants to watch something that's positive. Go check out Monique's YouTube channel. It is pretty awesome, and it's going to be great to have her back on 7 years later. So yeah, here is my new interview with Monique Parent. Hey Monique, welcome back. It's been a long time.
Hey,
How are you?
it's been a long time. I am terrific. How are you?
Well, the world's getting crazier, and I'm getting more hopeful every day that, things are going to get better, and I can't complain.
We sure hope that things get better. Things are a little crazy right now.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, going back in time, do you remember the first movie that impacted you as a child?
Oh, let's see. I mean, Jaws was a big one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was really like a Disney princess kind of girl.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was very much a Snow White, Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty kind of gal. And really, as far as I was concerned, all of the animals should fly into my arms.
Yeah. I love the old Disney classics. Pinocchio, I think, is the finest achievement ever put to animation.
Oh, yeah. I remember seeing The Sound of Music in the theater with my mother
Mm-hmm.
when I was very young, and that was like a defining moment for me.
That must have been one of those re-releases that you went to.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I had it on VHS when it first got re-released on VHS in like '86 or something. It was like a huge staple of my house and stuff. My mom, she's never been a big fan of Julie Andrews singing for whatever reason, but I just think it's wonderful.
Oh, yeah. I remember I was, well, for one thing, it was like a grown-up date with my mom.
Hmm.
I was maybe 6, and we went to the theater and we sat in the balcony and we watched it on the big screen, and it was just so enormous. It was so magical to me.
Yeah, it's one of those movies that just holds up over time. Robert Wise, he had quite a few of those. I mean, he was just a master craftsman of directing films. The Day the Earth Stood Still, West Side Story, The Haunting. God, he did so many. It's funny. I know people who love the first Star Trek movie, and I know a lot of people, myself including, that doesn't like it. You would think, I don't know, he would master that movie, but for whatever reason, it's, I don't know. It's just it's a slow one compared to all the Star Trek movies.
Yeah, I remember going to the first Star Trek movie, but
Hmm.
I think I caught some others on video or on TV. I didn't really go to the theater for them.
Hmm.
I don't think I was really like the demographic.
Yeah, Back to the Future was the first movie that impacted me as a child. I always had that fantasy of going back in time and seeing my parents in high school and finding out why they're so fucked up and I'm so fucked up. You know?
Well, Well, the great thing about families is that every family is fucked up, and
Yeah.
every family fucks over its different people in different ways.
I know. I I believed, the Brady Bunch for a great deal of my life until the internet came and then found out no, every family's fucked up.
Yeah, yeah.
you know.
But boy, did I watch the Brady Bunch growing up. I loved the Brady Bunch. I
Mhm.
loved Bewitched.
Oh yeah.
And oh, did I want to be Jeannie. In fact, I remember for Halloween when
Mhm.
I was, I think, 7 years old, 7 or 8, my mother made me a Jeannie costume. And I loved being Jeannie for Halloween. And then I think I did it again a number of years. I think I've been Jeannie a few times over my life.
Yeah. Oh, we'll get back to that in a little bit. But like, was there a specific movie genre that you gravitated toward?
Oh, not really. I mean, TV was much more influential on me than films as a kid.
Hmm.
Because, you went to the movies sometimes, but the TV was always there.
Right. Right. The movie thing was it was like a special treat, and yet back then they barely cost anything to go to them.
Not like today.
Yeah. It's like $25 if you want to go see an IMAX film,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
crazy.
Nowadays, I only go see matinees.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
I like me an empty theater.
oh yeah. We've been going to see matinees for like 30 years now because they've been cheaper for 30 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, comedy and horror was always my thing. I saw The Shining when I was a year old. My parents weren't big horror fans, but they loved Jack Nicholson, and the movie scared the shit out of me at a year old. But then I went back and revisited it when I was 7. Then it became my go-to horror movie, like every year at Halloween time.
I remember seeing The Shining when it came out in the theaters. What year did it come out?
1980.
Okay, yeah. So I was a teenager then.
Yeah, it came
Yeah, I
out.
was I was 15. So that was just a perfect age for it.
It came out 1 week before Friday the 13th. They like came out like
Yeah.
back to back. They were two very different horror movies, but they were very big box office hits in May of
Yeah.
1980. I'm sure you remember when The Exorcist and Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Halloween came out. They were all game changers.
They were. They were. I think The Exorcist is hands down one of the scariest movies ever.
Yeah, it gets scarier over time. I mean, it just
Yeah.
holds up. And what's his name who wrote it? William Blatty. He wrote many many books. That's his only horror story. And when you write The Exorcist, you don't really need another horror story.
Yeah, you're like, I'm good. I did it. I dipped my toe in the water, and there you go.
Yeah,
Enjoy.
exactly, exactly. Was there any comedy movies you liked?
Oh, I remember Airplane.
Yep.
When Airplane came out, that was so funny. I think I was like 11 or 12 when it came out. Did it come out 76?
No, 80.
77.
80.
Was it really 80?
Yeah.
Gosh, 1980 was a great year for film.
The best. Oh my God, that year you had like Used Cars and The Hollywood Knights and Roadie
Yeah.
and God, Private Benjamin came out that
Oh
year.
God, that was so good. I
Yeah.
loved Private Benjamin.
Yeah. That was a great year. Seems like old times. That's like one of my favorite romantic comedies ever, with Goldie Hawn and Chevy Chase. And
Yep.
Caddyshack was out that year.
Yeah, gosh, so many good movies.
Yeah.
It's I really think they need to get out of making so many comic book movies now.
I know.
It's just, I
All
mean,
the
they're fine, they're great, they're excellent, but that's not all we want.
I know, like all the comedies, they're all on Netflix and all the streaming outlets. They're like not going to theaters anymore. I don't know why.
Yeah, and there's something about seeing a comedy in a theater, because that laugh is contagious. You your enjoyment in a room full of people is so different than in a room by yourself.
Right. Yeah, I've talked to a few people from Airplane, and when they made it at the time, they had no idea it was going to be the greatest comedy of all time, because in '76 Paramount did a disaster flick parody called The Big Bus. Most people don't remember that one, and it didn't do well, and they thought this was going to be another flop, but no, it's like on the AFI's top 10 best movies of all time lists, and anybody can quote it. Anybody can.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And the Zucker brothers, of course, they did Top Secret, and they did The Naked Gun. I just
Yeah.
heard they came out with a remake with Liam Neeson of The Naked Gun on one of the streaming platforms. I haven't seen
Pamela Anderson.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet, but
I haven't yet either, but I've seen a couple clips.
yeah, I'm very reluctant to even see a trailer because Leslie Nielsen was the best. I mean, the absolute best.
Yeah, I don't know that you can compete with that.
No, the guy was dramatic his whole career up until that point, and then after that, he was in comedy. But the thing is, he was so good in Airplane because he was deadpan and he played everything so straight that when he got goofy later, it wasn't that funny anymore.
Yeah, no, it's sometimes certain people, their comedy has to be deadpan.
Exactly. Did you grow up watching film noir movies?
No, I would catch them sometimes, like on Channel 13.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoyed them, but my love for film noir didn't really develop until I was probably around 17, 18. Then I started getting more into classic films. But in my youth, it was really what was presented to us. Just I watched the same things everyone else did. I loved MASH.
Oh, yeah.
All in the Family, Golden Girls, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Films, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big Bogart and Bacall fan. I love those movies that they did together. The Big Sleep is probably my favorite noir movie ever, and it was very progressive. There's a female cab driver in that movie.
Wow, that is progressive.
1946, yeah, and there was this one actress that was in it. She was a femme fatale in it. I found out later she's the mother of that kid actor that was in all the commercials back in the '70s, Mason Reese.
I don't know who he is.
He was the fat little Irish kid with the red hair.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I had him on the podcast, and he told me that was his mother. I was like, really? I had no idea.
Wow, see? Early Nepo baby.
Early, yeah. And she was like 40 when she had him, too. She had him a little bit later in life. But, yeah, I thought that was cool. And they did that one dark passage where you don't see Bogey for about 45 minutes into the movie because something happened to his face, and you're just watching it from his point of view. You see Lauren Bacall, like, on screen completely for like 45 minutes. That was shot.
What a stunning woman.
Yeah. And she took shit from nobody too.
Yeah.
That movie was shot in my hometown, San Francisco, and so that's why
really?
that's why it holds a special place in my heart. I love that movie.
And San Francisco is one of those places where it becomes its own character in a film.
Right. I mean, there's
no place like San Francisco.
Right. And I don't know if that was the very first movie ever shot in San Francisco, but it certainly was an early one. No doubt. I'm sure you're old enough to remember, the Star Wars phenomenon when it happened.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
it was another one where I watched the first one in the theaters and enjoyed it, but wasn't interested in watching all the rest.
Yeah, I've seen footage on YouTube. There were lines around the block with kids and their parents. They wanted to see what the fuss was all about this movie. It came out that summer, and it was just it changed the whole landscape of the culture.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this cheesy sci-fi idea that had been considered, third-rate entertainment in the Hollywood matinee serials in the 30s and 40s is now mainstream. It's kind of like, horror having a resurgence in the last decade of being mainstream. It's kind of like that. When Star Wars first premiered on HBO, it premiered on a school night. Every school in America had kids that were calling in sick because they wanted to stay up late to watch it.
Wow, really?
Yeah. And that was shortly before, that was shortly before every household had a VCR, so they couldn't record it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
And those of us who had the VCRs but couldn't figure out how to make them work.
exactly. We had a VCR in the house that you could actually record just the sound, and that's it. And as a kid, as a baby, I accidentally pressed the wrong button, and like you'd be in the middle of watching a movie, and then suddenly you hear a commercial over the audio. Yeah, those were cool VCRs. I wish they would have lasted longer. Did you have any movie crushes growing up?
Oh gosh, John Travolta.
Oh, my mom has been lusting over him 50 years.
Yeah, yeah. I was 13. I had John Travolta posters all over my bedroom. I had a little bit of Sean Cassidy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, everybody loves Sean Cassidy and his brother David, of course. David, he did that Rolling Stone cover where he was like half naked, and that literally ended the Partridge Family. Like they were like, yeah, we can't have that image and have the Partridge Family. We have to cancel it.
Oh, I loved the Partridge Family.
Mm-hmm. I did too.
I didn't have a crush on David Cassidy. He was too old for me.
Yeah, I guess it's subjective, I was into Cary Grant. My mom had a paper.
Yeah.
My mom had a paperback book that had all these beautiful black and white pictures of him, and Natalie Wood, and so many '80s movie actresses that I've interviewed and gotten to become friends with over the years. There was a lot of those.
That is so wonderful. How exciting.
It is. Every day I'm pinching myself. Every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Were there any movie characters that you related to the most?
Oh, I'm thinking back to, I'm remembering a version of the King Arthur.
Oh yeah, King Arthur's Court.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember which one it was. It was right around the time I was a teenager. And I do remember Romeo and Juliet.
Which Romeo and Juliet?
With Olivia Hussey.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I was just so in love with that.
Well, I have two very eclectic ones. Peter Sellers and Being There, because he has a little bit of autism. I have a little bit of autism, and like I could say the most simple things and influence a lot of people. So that's one character I've always been able to relate to. And James Spader in Sex, Lies, and Videotape, because he's a voyeur and I'm a voyeur. Did you?
It's funny because I associate with Sex, Lies, and Videotape as me being an adult, not me being a kid.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I was a kid when it came out, but I didn't see it until my
You're a baby.
Yeah, I didn't see it till my early 20s, and when I did, I was like, oh my god, this is probably the most naughty movie that ever went to the film festivals and became a indie phenomenon. This is so awesome. I love it.
I mean, Body Heat. I was talking to the makeup artist on a shoot the other day, and she's like, I've never seen that movie. I'm like, you've never seen Body Heat?
Wow.
Oh, you need to see that.
That's a great movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kathleen Turner. God, she did so many great movies at that time where she's nude and she's just like looking really, really good. I saw Prizzy's Honor for the first time the other day. I had seen like clips of it over the years. I was always turned off to see it because I thought Jack Nicholson's Italian accent was awful, and I still do, but it was a good movie overall. Did you go to the drive-in much growing up?
We did. I remember going to the drive-in a lot. We had the Sunset Drive-In in San Luis Obispo,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember going there when I was a little kid,
Mm-hmm.
and then going there again when I was a teenager. They were very different experiences.
Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
my parents started taking me when I was 2. They took me to see Weird Science and Rambo 2 the first time. And I kind of remember it because you always remember your destiny of what it's going to be in hindsight, you know. And I can remember that experience. They stopped taking me for a while because it got to a point where I was either falling asleep in the back seat or I was getting out of the car and knocking on windshields.
Troublemaker.
Yeah.
Oh, it was always so fun to go to the drive-in theater, and then you pull in backwards, and you
Yeah.
make. I think we had like a station wagon, so we'd make a big bed in the back, and you'd eat food, and you'd bring stuff from home, and you'd eat dinner in the car. It was so fun.
Oh yeah, my dad, used to go to the drive-in as a teenager. He'd have to see the same movie 3 times because the first 2 times he was getting laid in the car.
He was one of the lucky ones.
Yeah, he did that with Rocky and Animal House, and then when he finally saw them, he was like, "Oh, these are going to be classics someday." So getting into television, yeah, I mean, you mentioned all the great sitcoms. I loved All in the Family and Maude and One Day at a Time and MASH and, yeah, The Facts of Life.
Yeah,
Yeah. Did you watch Give Me a Break?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, Different Strokes.
Different Strokes.
Uh,
Remember?
Soap. I remember Soap was one of my favorites.
Oh, that's the best. That show, I watched it on Tubi. It still holds up. Oh my God.
It does. It does.
I don't know how they didn't laugh their asses off during tapings because it was just hysterical.
I can guarantee you they did.
I know.
And then at some point you're laughing and you're laughing. You're like, okay, I got to pull my shit together, and you're like, manage to suck it in and get through it.
I know. I talked to Diana Canova recently, and she told me, yeah, that did happen a few times. But I'm just like, yeah. I mean, this humor is so damn funny. It's just it would have been hard to like work on that show because it was so funny.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I was a big Mary Tyler Moore Show fan.
Yes. Yep.
That was great. Chuckles the Clown.
Rhoda.
Rhoda. Yeah. Did you watch
Alice.
Alice? Oh, I love Alice. I actually as much as I love the movie that Martin Scorsese made, Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. I love the show a little bit more.
Yes. And Flo. Kiss my grits.
Kiss my grits. Yeah. And then the other friend, Beth Howland. She was so talented.
Yeah. She was so good.
Because she could play stupid really, really well. And she
And
had
not just stupid,
Mhm.
naive.
naive, yeah, and she had that cute little nose too.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vic Tayback, he was Mel, and he was great. Remember Welcome Back, Kotter?
Yep. Well, obviously, that's where I developed my John Travolta
Right,
fascination.
right. Fernwood Tonight.
Didn't watch that.
Yeah, Martin Mull and Fred Willard. Yeah, it was like the first like talk show parody.
Yeah.
Talk show within a talk show before Gary Shandling did it. It was kind of like the precursor to
Martin
it.
Mull was such a great talent.
He was. My dad actually met him once back in the late 70s. Martin Mull had car trouble in the Bay Area, and my dad said, "Hey, hold on, I'm gonna get you my spare or something, right?" And my dad comes back. Martin Mull's like pushing the car down the highway, and he's like, "Okay, well, thanks," you know. He tried to help him, is what he tried to do, not actually
He did.
help him. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, God, there was did you watch Charlie's Angels?
Of course. Of course.
Yeah. Oh, I got some inside baseball here. I've talked to a lot of actresses who guest starred on that show, and they all
Uh-huh.
told me they were fans of that show until they worked on it. They said it didn't matter who the lineup was, they were all mean girls.
Oh,
Yeah. They all had an attitude of like, I'm the star. No, I'm the star.
that's disappointing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, there's nothing I hate more than a diva on set.
yeah, well, the ones who worked with Farrah said that she was a sweetheart, and you would not know it from looking at her, but she was a person who didn't take shit. You know, she was always playing these kind of mindless roles, but no, she was not someone who took shit. And they said she was lovely, but all the others were just they were horrid.
That's too bad. And it was probably somebody pitting them against each other.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, no.
Unfortunately, women have been taught that all other women are competition,
Oh
and
yeah.
that there's not enough of whatever it is to go around. And that's something that at least younger women that I meet nowadays no longer have been brought up to believe that. But back in my generation, that was how we were raised, and that competitiveness and mean girl energy that so many women had one against each other. I'm so glad to see that society's grown away from that.
I still see it a little bit, not too much, but like the ones who just, are the ones who are not interested in moving forward. They still have that energy, but yes, you're right. I mean, it's changing.
Yeah, every once in a while I'll
Hmm.
meet a woman and it's like, oh, you're not a girl's girl. I can tell.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, Chips, Eric Estrada and Larry Wilcox, they
Uh
had
huh.
they had that competition as well and stuff, and everyone was, telling Eric Estrada, you have to be a certain way, you have to do this because you're the first Latino TV star in history and so forth, and he believed his own publicity, you know. And I saw him do a very rare podcast interview recently where he said he had some words with David Beagleman, the head of MGM, in his office one day, and he said to him, if it wasn't for me, you'd still be a box boy or something like that. And
Ugh.
I was just like, yeah, that's a great example of what he was going through at that time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Were you into Starsky and Hutch?
I did like Starsky and Hutch. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Uh, watched Chips. Um. Oh gosh. Ah! I'm blanking. The Incredible Hulk.
The Incredible Hulk. Oh my God, Bill Bixby was friends with my great aunt. My great aunt was.
Ah!
She was the head of craft services at the Hilton in San Francisco, and she knew a lot of famous people. And like Bill Bixby and his family would come through. She used to hang out with Bill Bixby's mother a lot.
Had a crush on Bill Bixby.
Yeah, remember My Favorite Martian?
Uh huh.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. That show wasn't in syndication when I was a kid, but when that movie came out in the late '90s and stuff, that's like when it first fell onto my radar. Ray Walston was the original Martian, but Christopher Lloyd did the remake.
Yeah, I didn't. I don't think I watched the remake.
It was terrible. It was a Disney movie.
Oh, oh, no.
When Disney became more corporate in the '90s.
Yeah, and it stopped being quite what it was growing up.
Oh yes, yeah. We all miss good old Walt and the way he did things. Now, going back to I Dream of Jeannie, yeah, it's funny, they had to reshoot the pilot because her belly button showed. And,
So scandalous.
right, and then 2 years later, Barbara Luna and Nichelle Nichols became like the first two women in the history of television to show their belly buttons on Star Trek. And it's funny, I saw Luna last weekend at the Hollywood show, and she's so modest about it, because she thinks that Barbara Eden was more of a pioneer than she was, right? And I was like, no, 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 you two actually got to show yours on television. She had to reshoot hers. I consider you two pioneers. And when we posed for the picture, she likes to stand in front of the guys when she takes pictures, and she likes to have them put their hands on her waist, right? And she let me touch her belly button. It was fantastic. And if you look at the picture, she's got her hand over my hand, but the smiles on our faces say it all.
Oh.
It was fantastic. And then, a couple of years after that Star Trek episode, Gene Roddenberry did a pilot called Genesis 2, where Marion Hartley had two belly buttons. Yeah.
Because, if one is scandalous, what is two?
Right, that was his attitude, He was like, this is so absurd, it's this is how we're born, it's a natural part of the body, Yeah, June is National Belly Button Month.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Celebrate responsibly.
Yeah, I mean, I follow it, and it's my favorite part of the body, so I always got to bring that up. Did you watch children's programming?
I did. I remember, well, I definitely watched Sesame Street, and I remember The Electric Company a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you remember Zoom?
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't even know that show existed till a few years ago. They were doing a reunion at ChillerCon, and I was like, Zoom? What's Zoom? I mean, I know it's a FaceTime, but like, what's Zoom? And I found out it was a PBS Kids show.
Yeah. I watched that. A little bit of Captain Kangaroo.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Rogers.
Mr. Rogers, that was a big one for me. But Captain Kangaroo, it's funny, I didn't see him until YouTube. I had always heard about him, but never actually saw him because he was off the air by the time I came of age. And I've heard all these crazy stories about how he hated being typecast as Captain Kangaroo. He wanted to do other things, but like so many people, he was typecast.
Well, so many people get blessed or cursed, or both, being so recognizable for one particular role. And it's great for going to cons because you're always famous for that one particular role. But it is frustrating because nobody ever really sees you as anything else.
Right. And also, too, back then, the con circuit was not as popular as it was now. So it's not like they knew that the con circuit was going to be popular. Because they would do personal appearances like that, but they didn't like doing it. It was like the kiss of death to them.
Yeah.
I know people who went to Star Trek cons in the 70s, and they all say it was dead. There was, like, literally nobody there. And, like, Shatner would be there and just looking bored, And now he has plenty of people to be a dick to. Did you ever watch the Sid and Marty Krofft shows, like, Land of the Lost and stuff?
I remember... H.R. Puffin stuff?
Yeah, H.R. Puffin stuff. There was the Boogaloos, Sigmund, the Sea Monsters.
Yeah.
The Krofft Super Show, where they had Electra Woman and Dinah Girl and Captain Cool and the Kongs.
I don't think I watched that one.
Yeah, that was funny. They shot that on video, and it looked like it was a cable access show. It was pretty amateurish looking by today's standards, but it was actually pretty cool, I have to say. Yeah,
there was a certain point I wasn't watching a lot of shows because I was really active in dance and theater. I did my first play when I was 9, so I wasn't home watching TV.
I get it. Yeah, a lot of people, especially kids who started acting early, a lot of them were not able to be home and watching and stuff, which I think that, if a kid watches TV and they're also an actor, I think it helps a little bit, but back then nobody really knew that.
Yeah.
Did you watch Saturday morning cartoons?
Of course. Saturday morning cartoons were sacred.
Oh, yeah. There was Josie.
I loved Speed Racer.
Josie and the Pussycats.
Yeah.
Remember
Scooby-Doo, of course.
Oh, yeah. The Pebbles and Bam Bam Hour.
Yep.
Top Cat.
Aquaman.
Top Cat.
Yep.
Huckleberry Hound. Jabberjaw.
All of them.
All those
And, a classic Bugs Bunny.
Oh, of course. Yeah, by the time that they stopped showing those in the theater, cable hit, and they were on every Saturday morning for like, 30 or 40 years. I mean, that really kept the Looney Tunes alive.
Yeah.
And they released.
Saturday mornings were, don't bother us. We're watching TV.
Yep, that's what I was doing in the 80s. I'd watch those cartoons. I'd watch Pee-wee's Playhouse and the Real Ghostbusters and all that stuff that came out, when I was a kid and stuff. When you grew up in San Luis Obispo, did you have the Z channel?
No. We
Okay.
had channels 1 through 13.
Mhm. Yeah, cuz it was a LA based UHF station that ran from 73 to 89, and they showed every type of movie, every type of TV show. And I found out recently the reason why it got off the air in 89 was because the guy who ran it killed himself.
Oh,
Yeah, went crazy and killed himself. And I think he killed
that's
his
sad.
wife too or something.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
Men behaving badly, they got to take everyone down with them.
yeah, and they came out with a documentary about it like 20 years ago. I found out. I want to see it because I didn't know about it until like the last few years or something. I'm late to the party with the Z channel, but it was a very popular channel from what I've been told.
Yeah, we didn't have it in San Luis.
Yeah, we didn't have it in the Bay
It,
Area either. We had lots of UHF stations in the Bay Area. They were so magical, but now they've been bought by Fox and all these corporate entities, and they're just not the same anymore.
now when you flip around the channels, you see just infomercials.
I know. Oh my God, I hate those. I remember when the infomercial craze first started. They were actually pretty good at first, and I'd love to see those infomercials on like Time Life, 50s and 60s oldies, and I discovered a lot of rock and roll songs that way, But then after that, it became about skincare products. Which, no offense to you, I know you got your YouTube channel where you do the health and beauty thing, but like that kind of stuff, I'm just like, oh God, I'm rolling my eyes.
Yeah. Well, I never watch an infomercial, but by God, I'll work on them.
Yeah. Remember when the Popale products, became big?
Yes.
Yeah, Ron Popale, he had the Pocket
Yeah.
Fisherman, the Smokeless Ashtray, which was satired in Gremlins. Um, God, there were so many. The Vegematic, which Gallagher did the Sledge-O-Matic, as a parody of that. Did you watch MTV at all growing up?
Yeah. MTV was huge. It came out when I was like 15, 14 or 15.
Yeah.
And so it was really just finding itself then. I remember the very first videos were so like boring.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the guy would sing, "Oh, I walked into a bar," and
Yeah.
the guy walking into a bar. And then I'd ordered a beer, and see a guy ordering a beer. I mean, they were just so like, you know, basic. But then the creativity really started to flow, and it was fun.
Oh yeah, Michael Jackson. God, he did short films, is what he did.
Yeah, yeah,
The Billie Jean video, it's very noir-like, and of course Thriller's a horror, Night of the Living Dead / werewolf movie. Yeah. Yeah, Madonna's Lucky Star video where her belly button shows.
yep.
That was a sexy video. Did you ever see that interview David Bowie did on MTV where he's making a big stink about how MTV didn't have enough black artists being shown?
I did. Yes.
Yeah. I just feel like he's like he was ragging on Mark Goodwin as if he had something to do with it,
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was all the programmers, but yeah, it did lack a lot of diversity back then. But
Yeah.
everything did.
Of course.
Everything had a real lack of diversity. And when you'd see people of color, they were not portrayed in the best light.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
So I'm glad to see that we have grown.
yeah, they had Michael Jackson and Prince videos only at that time, Lionel Richie, and then as time went on, of course, the rap craze started, and they had Yo MTV Raps in the early '90s.
Yeah, I wasn't watching a lot of MTV in the 90s.
Yeah, by '97 I checked out because it was all reality shows and game shows that they were having on
Yeah.
there, and it just wasn't fun
And then there
anymore.
wasn't music. It wasn't music television
No,
anymore.
no, and it still isn't. And they still use that moniker. MTV. It's more like reality TV, RTV.
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, and it's just not fun anymore. I saw recently you were in the rodeo episode of Wax's Texas Ranger.
Yes.
Yeah, how was making that?
Oh, that was great fun.
Hmm.
We just had a terrific time on set. Uh, Chuck is the nicest man.
Hmm. Yeah,
He was
sure.
very kind. Yeah, that was just super fun.
Yeah, Cherie J. Wilson. I've had her on here twice. I did a nerd out with her last year, and it's funny. She's a bundle of energy.
Yeah, I remember we all went out for a big girls' night for dinner when I was there.
Hmm.
Actually, I think I'd been there for the shoot, and then I went back home to LA, and then I came back to Texas to shoot a movie.
Hmm.
And while I was there, I was like connected with her and went out to a big girls' dinner. I was like, gosh, in LA, I can't manage to round up 20 women to all go to dinner, but we can do this in Texas.
Yeah.
And it was just so fun.
That's so awesome. That's really awesome. So getting into music, do you remember the first album you ever bought with your own money or was given to you?
Tori Amos. I remember the first album that I bought that really like meant something to me. It was Tori Amos, Little Earthquakes,
Hmm.
and that was just like that was the first time I really connected to an artist.
Interesting. Interesting. Is it so? Like, did you ever go to concerts?
Oh yeah, yeah. When I lived in San Luis Obispo, we would go to concerts at the Mid-State Fair,
Hmm.
and I remember going there with my best friend and seeing Sting,
Ah,
and we're watching him bounce around the stage with all this energy,
yeah.
and we're like, "Gosh, that's either a lot of cocaine or really healthy living." And then he took his shirt off, and the crowd screamed, and it was all a female pitch scream,
Yeah.
and we just turned at each other and went, "Healthy living."
I love it. I love it.
Like, yeah, that's not a drug body.
Yeah, I mean I've seen Alice Cooper live. That guy is a showman. I mean he'll do like songs from almost every album he's ever recorded, and he gets killed at the end of every show. He gets stabbed or hung or electrocuted or something. You know.
I went to the US Festival in 1982,
Mm-hmm.
which was 3 days of bands playing all day. It was sort of a precursor to Coachella or something like that. But it was
Yeah.
just one stage and just band after band after band. We saw the Stray Cats. We saw U2. I mean, it was just if you could look up the US Festival in 1982, it was just amazing. Just a Bowie, uh, just amazing.
Yeah.
And I went there for 5 days and camped out.
Yeah. Oh God, people used to do that to get concert tickets. Now you don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
I heard that John Hughes, he had a script that he never got to make about teenagers camping for concert tickets. I'm like, God, he covered everything else in teen movies. It's like that one that should have been made. I mean, that would have been the
Yeah, you
perfect.
can't make it now. Nobody would understand it.
I think if you did it in a period piece form,
You'd
maybe,
have to.
yeah, yeah, but no. I
Or
mean,
he would have to.
right. Back then, that would have been perfect. The perfect John Hughes movie, waiting for concert tickets. That
Yep.
would have been awesome. Yeah, my dad was a musician. He had a band when I was a kid, and God, he had vinyl records of all kinds: Beach Boys, Beatles, Stones, Carole King's Tapestry, Fleetwood Mac's Rumors. Him and my mom loved Rod Stewart. They had just vinyl records up the yin yang of those bands. You know, there's nothing like the stinky musky smell of vinyl. It's intoxicating. You know, vinyl's made a comeback though. It's made a comeback a
They
lot.
did. They did. No, who would have thunk it?
I know, I know. Even like newer stuff that's usually digital, it's being transferred to vinyl, which is pretty interesting. It's a pretty interesting time for vinyl. Do you remember your first makeout song?
I don't.
I remember mine. Janet Jackson's "Love Will Never Do Without You."
Ah, good song.
Yeah, steamy, sexy song. So, you got anything upcoming you can mention?
I am working nonstop. I'm working on a lot of vertical series. I have a new movie that comes out on Friday.
Hmm.
It'll be on all the streaming. It'll be on, you can see it on Apple, you can see it on Prime, called Garden of Eden.
Hmm.
And it is an extreme horror film.
Nice.
Like some of these scenes will burn themselves on your eyelids and you will not be able to forget them. This is a movie that might be too disturbing for many, many people.
Wow. Garden of Eden. Anybody's in it that we would know?
Robert Russler,
Oh, Robert Rustler.
Sarah French,
Sarah French.
Sarah Nicklin,
Hmm.
um, Gigi. I can't even think of Gigi's last name. I should. Gigi Gustin.
Gigi Gustin.
She's always Gigi. She's just Gigi. You see her, you know, Gigi. Um, it should be really, really interesting to a lot of people.
Nice, nice. And
Yeah.
your channel's still doing great.
Channel's doing okay. I haven't been working on it too much because I have been working on vertical series.
Hmm.
I'm just about to shoot my 11th vertical series this year.
Nice, nice.
I'm working almost every day and it is amazing.
Do you ever think you're gonna run out of things to talk about on your channel? Are you always like, scrounging to come up with something? Is it like a grind?
Sometimes with makeup it is a grind because I grew up I grew up having very acne prone skin.
Hmm.
And I felt uncomfortable with my own face, and I always wanted to hide it with makeup and uncover it. And as the years have gone by, I'm okay with my face. I like my face. I like my face without makeup. And that's not very successful for a makeup channel.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I have a friend who's a podcast host up in Canada, and he put he put one of his coworkers on his podcast, and on the side she has like it's kind of like a Mary Kay business, and it's all makeup based and stuff. All the whole episode was her trying on makeup and stuff, and like washing her face, trying on makeup and everything. I was like, wow, that's pretty interesting. She should have her own channel. you know.
Yeah. It's tough because the makeup industry is one that really preys on women's insecurities and is all about telling women you need to change. You need to hide yourself. You need to be something different. You need to camouflage.
Yeah.
And I don't know that that's the healthiest message for women to be hearing. Makeup is a fun thing to play with. It's
Right.
fun to be able to express yourself cosmetically. But I don't
Right.
feel that makeup is a necessity. And I think too many times it's sold as a bill of goods to women that you must do this all the time or you are worthless. And I don't
Yeah.
like to share that message with people. And yet it doesn't make much money to sit there and tell people, hey, here I am with a naked face and you're okay with a naked face and celebrate.
Yeah, I know a lot of women who look just gorgeous without makeup and then rather
Yeah.
with makeup, and
Yeah.
that message needs to be out there, I feel.
So I do, when I do my show every Monday.
Hmm.
I do my streaming show unless I'm shooting.
Right.
And I frequently will do that without makeup.
Yeah. Well, you look
And that's,
you look great no matter what.
thank you. Thank you. And
Absolutely.
I wish I felt that when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
But society has evolved and changed over the 59 years I've been on the planet. And I'm glad that we're in a bit of somewhat of a better place now in some ways and not in other ways. And it'd be nice if everything were glorious.
Say la vie. Monique, this has been so awesome. Thanks for coming back on and nerding out with me today.
Anytime, Tommy.
Yes. You have yourself a great day. Be safe out there. And
You
yes,
too.
keep on spreading, the beautiful positivity out there.
Absolutely, because the world needs more love.
That's all it is. It needs more love. All you need is love, as the Beatles said.
Exactly.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye.
Well, there you have it. Monique Parent. Ain't she a sweetheart? Oh my God. I just adore her. She is so awesome. And oh my God. We had some technical issues for about 8 minutes during the middle of this interview, but with a little luck and a little editing, I made it sound perfect. Well, until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying there's no shame in living in the past because the present sucks. Later, dudes!